Hello everybody, Mikey here, or Burns Post like I always say. And today I'm talking about a topic that I've seen talked about a lot. Does FNAF need gore? Now FNAF has never been over the top and gory, but we really don't see a lot of that stuff in modern FNAF, and I think I might actually have a real reason why. But before I talk about that, let's go over some gore and dark moments in the FNAF series so far, and see if FNAF has really been as dark as some people make it out to be, or if we all kinda just hyped it up a bit. So FNAF 1 definitely has a lot of dark moments in it. My personal favorite being the poster of Freddy trying to rip his head off. It really shows how tortured the souls are. I also like the groaning of Bonnie and Chica, showing off how horrible their situation is. Phone Guy's death is probably one of the darkest moments in FNAF. It's the only time we actually get to hear a night guard die in FNAF, or anyone for that matter. Last but not least is probably the first example of gore in FNAF, the Game Over screen, where it's just showing the Freddy suit with the eyes sticking out of it. Now I'm kinda hesitant to call this gore, to be honest I have a bit of a bad perspective on gore, but I think it's nice, it's not over the top, and it shows that Phone Guy's warnings are needed to be heeded. Next up is FNAF 2. Now FNAF 2 definitely has its dark moments, but I feel like it has less. For example, all the darker moments happen in 8-bit minigames, Charlie's death for example. It shows you what happened but with so little detail, not saying it needed a lot of detail. And from my understanding, FNAF 2 doesn't really have a lot of gore like FNAF 1. I wish I had more to say about FNAF 2, but I do have to say FNAF 2 starts the trend in FNAF of implied horrors. Like how it's implied what happens in the minigames. Every FNAF game has some form of implied horror. Next up is FNAF 3. Now this game definitely has the most gore out of the whole series, so let's get into it with Springtrap. The boot up screens are definitely one of the coolest rare screens we've seen in FNAF, showing off the mutilated corpse of Afton, showing off his punishment. And in my opinion, it kinda tells a story. The first two screens show him trying to escape the suit, but the last one shows him smiling like he's accepted the mangle monster he's become. FNAF 3 is the first time we get to see an implied springlock failure too. When I first saw it, I was definitely shocked. Again, it's not really that gory since it's 8-bit, but I don't think the springlock's failures are meant to be gory, considering how it was portrayed in the movie. FNAF 3 definitely has some of the darkest parts of the series. FNAF 4 has less dark moments than FNAF 3. Man, it's like the even numbers are lighter. But anyway, FNAF 4 definitely focuses on gameplay more than it does dark moments, really only having one major one. That being the bite of 83, unless you count the average younger brother experience the crying child gets. And again, the bite isn't over the top with it, it's another moment of implied horror. Next up is Sister Location. Now I think Sister Location is the darkest the series gets. I don't know if this counts as gore, but the scene of the two technicians hanging is one of the creepiest and darkest moments for FNAF. It shows that the fun times aren't playing around anymore. Something that adds to the creep factor for me is that we heard the two technicians the night before when we were in the scooping room with Ballora. The main ending, Ennard's design never really interested me, but what they do is delightfully creepy and disgusting. It's a fun play on the getting stuff in a Freddy suit from the first two games. Plus, when it shows you the scene when it shows you Ennard in Michael's body is probably one of the best endings in FNAF. Now, Pizza Sim doesn't have any gore besides Scrap Trap, but then again, I think that's a little hard to count because unlike Springtrap, you never get a good look at his body under the suit. However, it definitely has its dark moments. Expanding on Charlie's death, showing that she died cold and alone in the rain, then the minigame showing Afton luring Susie off to her demise is truly chilling. UCN doesn't really have a lot of dark moments, and it kinda starts a shift in the games. UCN starts the trend of having a lot of humor in FNAF. Now, Pizza Sim had some with the opening cutscene, but I argue UCN really started the humor in FNAF games. Next up is Help Wanted. Now this game definitely has its dark parts, like being lured to the back in one of the endings and being locked away as Glitch Trap takes your body, but this game also has its implied horror from the tape girl talking about Jeremy. I can't remember if there's anything else to mention about this one. Now the last games I'll be talking about today is Security Breach and FNAF Ruin. The reason for this is that I haven't beaten Help Wanted 2 yet and I haven't played FNAF AR. So starting off with Security Breach, this game is probably the least dark and least gory game. If I remember correctly, the only gory thing is Burn Trap, but even that's not anything exclusive to this game. There's a lot of dark moments, but they're only really in the hidden messages that you can find on your Faz watch. But even then you can avoid it. That's not to say it's not scary. DJ Music Man gives me a run for my money personally, but it doesn't have as many dark moments as the other games do. However, I do have to say Ruin fixed this problem with the Mimic and showing the consequences of Gregory's actions to the Glam Rocks, mainly with Roxy showing off how much worse they are because of Gregory, and the ending was probably the second darkest ending. Cassidy, just a child being tricked into coming to help her friend only to be betrayed and trapped under the Pizzaplex. So as the games went on, they definitely got less dark, and why is that? Well, at least for the game Scott made, I think there's a clear answer. In an interview Scott did with Dawko, he said he made FNAF World because there's only so much human suffering he can take, and that's why I think Pizza Sim and UCN had more humor and less dark moments than the other games. He was giving himself a palate cleanser, and the humor and less dark just followed over to the Steelwool games. Now, is this a problem for FNAF? For now, no. However, I feel like we're moving too far away from what made FNAF scary in the first place, the implied horror of what could happen or what did happen. Also, the atmosphere, but Help 1 to 2 and Ruin did a good job on fixing that. I think the gore in FNAF is good, but we have to remember that it was never over the top like people tend to believe sometimes. However, one thing I think FNAF could improve on is its creep factor. Sometimes it feels like it's too flashy, but again, Ruin and Help 1 to 2 seem to be working on this. Alright guys, that's all for today, but let me know your guys' thoughts on this topic. Should FNAF be darker than it is now? Tell me in the comments down below. Alright gang, that's all I got. Thank you all for watching, stay safe out there, and may the stars shine down upon you. Bye!